Niaje? Ni gani itanipeleka Waithaka? Sawa sawa. Asante. Sawa sawa. Turn left. Sawa. Everyone, I was at the heart of Kawangware slum, and honestly I got lost. After going round and round, I finally got my way out. I know it's crazy, but everywhere and every place look the same. But that's a story for another day. Today I want to take you to a small town called Waithaka. It's quite small. It's between Kawangware and Dagoretti along Kikuyu Road. And in fact, this is Kikuyu Road. It takes you all the way to Kikuyu town. And Waithaka is one of the places that I do due to public demand. In fact, a good number of you have been on my neck requesting it almost every day. In fact, I've gotten to a point of knowing a good number of people coming from this area, from the comment section. And their ringleader is one Samuel Kamau. So shout out to you. We'll be getting there in less than a minute. Quite an interesting place. I have also checked the statistics. It has some interesting numbers. We will also visit the surrounding towns. In fact, there is one that goes by the name Ruthimitu, also quite interesting. And we plan to go all the way to Dagoretti Market, and that's where we'll probably end the video. So stay tuned until the very end. It's a beautiful day, and if you are new here, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel, Village to Town TV, a channel that is dedicated to continue showcasing beautiful villages, towns, and cities across the continent of Africa. And speaking of the beautiful continent, next week we are about to break that boundaries, for lack of a better word, as we are about to make our first international trip. So stay tuned, and the only hint I can give you as per now is that it's outside the continent. Let's get back to the video, and I can see Waithaka town is here. You can call it a shopping center or an estate. It's quite small, but old. In fact, there's an old town on my right. I'll be taking you there. We will also go to the interior part of the small town and see what's up. I will also be giving you the numbers in a few. I'm not quite sure about the source of the name, why the small town is called Waithaka, but I know our friends from this area will tell us on the comment section. But what I know is that Waithaka is a Kikuyu name, a male child name to be precise, which means a person who loves land or a guy who is associated with land. So I don't know whether Waithaka was the ancestor or was just someone who lived in the area. Unfortunately, I could not find that vital information from the internet, but I know we'll get the answer. And so if you are quite familiar with the area, just get onto the comment section and tell us. We will appreciate. I want to turn around so that I can take you to the old town. And remember, Waithaka is part of Dagoretti South constituency, which is one of the 17 constituencies in Nairobi County, and actually one of the smallest in terms of size, but has quite a huge population. We'll come to that in a few. And in terms of the area, the constituencies measures about 25 kilometers squared. In fact, the official measurement, as far as the Kenya Bureau of Statistics is concerned, is 25.3 kilometers squared, or 9.8 square miles. The small town is on my left. I want to get to the center of it. It's quite small. In fact, it's one of the smallest shopping centers I've ever seen around Nairobi. And remember, Nairobi city is not far from here. It's about 11 kilometers. And I feel like the small town is quite beautiful and peaceful in its own way, despite being in the middle of chaos, which is usually associated with the city life. There is a super sense of tranquility. I don't know whether it's because I just left Kawangware slums, and it feels like the entire town has been turned into a garage. This should be an open air market, if I'm not wrong. I can see some really old buildings like this right in front of me, although the owners have tried to maintain them, but by the look of the iron sheets, you can see that they have seen better days. And it seems like a good number of them are not in use, and probably is because other parts of the town have developed. This is part of the old town. In fact, I want to take you to the other side of the town, the modern one, with some new businesses. In fact, they have Quickmart. I can see it on the other side, which is one of the biggest supermarkets in the country. You will see it in a few. In fact, it's right there in front. In fact, if I'm not wrong, it is currently the biggest supermarket in the country. I want to turn left and take you to the interior part of the estate. We want to see how the people live and the kind of the small scale businesses they do, which are mostly along the road. And it is also good to know that this is a metropolitan area. Every tribe in Kenya is represented here, but a majority of people here are Kikuyus. I'll be giving you numbers in a few. In fact, that's the trend in Dagoretti South constituency, which is not always the case with the neighboring constituencies, such as Dagoretti North. Well, this is a very sharp hill. This road goes to the residential area. It also serves some of the most important social amenities in the area. In fact, there is a high school right ahead that goes by the name Nembu. I saw it on the map before coming here, and it got me wondering whether there is a connection between this Nembu and another town we visited at the beginning of this year in Gatundu South that went by the same name, Nembu. And it's quite a rare name, and so I feel like there must be a connection between the two places. And so, if you are quite familiar with the history of the two places, you can tell us the connection they share right on the comment section below, and we will appreciate. I can see a police station on my left. This must be Waithaka Police Station. The National Police Service, Waithaka Police Station. Well, the writing is clear. And so if you are a lover of trouble, you can try and throw some stones right inside there, or lower the national flag hoisted there. I'm sure the police will sing for you and praise you. Anyway, I'm just saying, don't try that at home. I'm going back to the main road so that we can proceed to the next town. But before then, let me give you the numbers. And it's good to know that Waithaka is one of the 5 wards in Dagoretti South constituency. The other include Odhero, Riruta, Ngando, and Mutuini. I'm told the correct pronunciation is Motoine. Well, the ward has 2 sublocations, Mutego and Kabiria, and Waithaka has a total population of 142,543 people, where 70,996 are men, while 71,847 are women. The total number of households is 49,831, and so you can see that this is a highly populated area. And for the population density, the area has 7,894 people living in a square kilometer. Now guys, as you can see, I'm back to the main road, and I'll be going north towards Dagoretti, but there's another small town between Dagoretti and here that I want to take you. And of course, we'll be getting there in a few minutes. But before then, let me give you a few numbers about the entire sub-county, which is Dagoretti. In fact, it used to be one big constituency before it was split right before 2013. And history goes that long time ago, the Dagoretti area was in Kiambu Old District. So it is part of the larger Kiambu, but it was taken up by Nairobi to make the metropolitan bigger and spacious. And to start with, Dagoretti Sub-County has a total population of 434,208 people. That was as of 2019. That's according to the Kenyan Bureau of Statistics, making it one of the most popular sub-counties in the country. And it has one of the fastest growing population in the country. As of 2009, the population was 294,222, meaning that in 10 years, the population increased with about 140,000 people, which is an annual population change of 4%. Well, in terms of the population density, the sub-county has an average of 14,921 people living in a square kilometer, which is quite big, even when compared to the small town we just left of Waithaka, which had 7,894 people living in a square kilometer. And so it seems like the sub-county has almost doubled that number, while the total area occupied by the sub-county is 29.1 kilometers squared. Well, in terms of the gender distribution, there's no cause of alarm in the sub-county, as the number of female and that of their male counterparts are almost equal. In fact, there are 217,651 male, representing about 49.9% of the total population, while the number of females is 216,526, representing 50.1% of the total population. And so in short, the gap is so small. In fact, the difference is about 1,000 in favor of women. And in terms of the intersex, they are only that one in the entire sub-county. Well, let's quickly check at the age distribution before we hit our next town. And I realized that the number of the old is quite small, especially when compared to other age groups in the sub-county, as those aged 65 and above only account for 1.2% of the total population. In fact, to put the percentage into perspective, out of the 435,000 people living in the sub-county, only 5,165 people are aged 65 and above. Well, if you were to go deeper into the age groups, those aged 80 and above are only 850. Well, whatever you do with that information is up to you, but it is a critical indication that the city is not friendly to the old-timers, which is quite unfortunate, as you can imagine that those aged 90 and above are only 189 people in the entire sub-county, which has more than 450,000 residents. Well, we have approached the small town of Ruthimitu, which is just a small shopping center along the Kikuyu Road. It is also the last town before you hit the small town of Dagoretti, which will be our final destination. And although Ruthimitu is quite small in terms of size, it is highly populated, as it has 13,584 people, where 6,430 are men, while 7,154 are women. That tells you that there's about 700 more women than men in the small town, living in an area of about 1.2 kilometers squared. While in terms of the population density, there are 11,521 people living in a square kilometer. Well, I'm about to turn left as I go toward Dagoretti Market, and if I had continued straight, I would have ended up in Kikuyu town. Well, I once did a video on Dagoretti, which is quite popular for having one of the biggest meat market in Nairobi. In fact, it has some of the biggest slaughterhouses in East and Central Africa. I hope I'll show you some of them. In fact, I'm sure you have started to notice there's a lot of people with white coats. Those are certified butchers. There is also a lot of middlemen who work as brokers along this street. And so in short, if you are new here and you want some meat from the slaughterhouse, they will assist you to select the best for a fee, of course. Well, these are some of the places that you should know some people, even if it's at least one. In fact, I have just spotted an old friend from a distance. He is a fellow old-timer. It's been a minute.
Mwega muno itambire kurano rĩngĩ tũrano ũguo bũrũri ũgĩthĩna baba bũrũri nĩ ũrehire ũhoro ũyũ bũrũri ũrehire ũhoro ndigũkũhitha nĩ ũrona nginya ona maũndũ mothe makongerereka ona nyama gũkũ ciahaicire na rĩma nĩ twaikara nĩkĩ twaikara ũguo nĩ ndĩrambĩte kũra hanini nĩ ũrambĩte gũkorwo ũtarĩ hakuhĩ kĩrĩa ũkiuga wega tu hau akĩrĩ biũ Dagoretti mwatũkĩria kĩ gũkũ no riũa twamũkĩria rĩrĩa rĩte kũndũ guothe no ningĩ mũno mwana witũ eke ngũhutĩrie tondũ nĩ ndonire nĩ ũrĩ na tũmũndũ ndonire we ndũrĩ wa ndemũ ta kĩgunyũ ũmũthĩ nĩguo twanoka nao ũmũthĩ ndoka ndĩ mansolo ĩni kĩndũ kĩrĩa kĩho mũno ũgĩage kũhoya mũrũmani ta hoyaga ihoya rĩa thayũ atĩ mũtũ ũcio waku ndũkanakiri ũguo handũ ũng'ũrĩke na rĩu niĩ ingĩtiga gũkwĩra rĩu niĩ kenjoke mwena-inĩ wakwa niĩ ingĩtiga rĩu gũkwĩra rĩ niĩ nĩtwarehanaga igũrũ na andũ akwa tondũ.
Well, that was some good time with my good old friend in the Dagoretti market. And for those who did not understand the local dialect, the guy just gave me $1 million advice, basically on how to raise a family, how to live with a woman in harmony, and the importance of always seeking for peace in the society. Well, you can only get such advice from old-timers. That's why you should spare at least 2 hours in a week to share wisdom with such people. They have a lot of it. And mostly is for free. Well, let me leave you at that. And please continue watching the scenic video until the end. And please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel, Village to Town TV, a channel that is dedicated to continue showcasing beautiful villages, towns, and cities across the globe. As I told you earlier, we are doing our first global tour starting this week. And so our first video on that series will be up next week. So stay tuned. It is courtesy of one of you, Team Village to Town TV. I will give you the details next week. And thank you so much for the continued support. I don't take it for granted in whatever capacity you do, whether by watching, liking, and subscribing. There is also a good number of you who calls just for friendly talks. Other supports me financially. Thank you so much. It's only that I can't name all of you, but you are in my heart. So make sure you like the video so that it can be recommended to as many people as possible, and smash the notification bell so that every time we post, you will be among the first few people to be notified. Thank you.